Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move to the last section of our conference. We will have a short panel discussion, and I would like to invite Peyman, Bieke, Franziska, Eva, and Peter to the stage.
Hello again.
Hi.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you back. It looks sunny in most of your locations. Before we go further, I would like to have a short poll for the participants of the conference with a question if they already started preparations for the future Interreg projects. And I would ask Adelaide to start the poll. I guess we have a short delay here. And I'm hoping that we will soon see the poll on our screens. So we see the poll. Have you already started preparations for future Interreg projects? So I still see the number changing. We were shifting from half to half to actually more people not yet preparing for the Interreg projects. Let's give it a second still, little delay. So the result that I see now on the screen is that 57% of the participants have not started yet the preparation and 43%, which is good for us. That means we can reach out to those who have not started yet and start building partnerships. So thanks a lot for the poll. And now let's start the panel. For the panel, I have prepared some questions for you, and also we are welcome actually to ask questions to each other. So if you have questions that you would like to ask another panelist, you're welcome. And at some point, we will also look at the cloud of challenges and react on this. So let's start with the questions. I have the first question to Bieke. So Bieke, we see ourselves as facilitators of the digital transformation. And which aspects are the most important? Where shall we focus in the future?
Whew, I can immediately kick off. Thank you. I think to answer that, it depends a bit on what point of view you're looking from. First, which organization are you? Are you a local government or an intermediary or a university? And also to what target groups are you looking? So from our point of view, from Ladle, I think we could answer that from different perspectives, focusing from government to government, for example. And there, I think we know that there's still a big need to shift the minds from local authorities from digitalization towards the real digital transformation. I think a lot of cities and municipalities already are there, or they're not there yet, but are doing things at digitalization. But to have a real digital transformation, there's also need for a changing capacity as an organization to really embrace this transformation and also to change the vision and the strategy at operational level, also in hiring staff for these changing technologies. So I think there a lot of cities and municipalities still have a long way to go, and that they're from intermunicipal organizations such as Ladle, we can support the local authorities in the next future to really embrace this digital transformation. On the other hand, there's also an approach towards companies. And there, I think also, like Eva said this morning, that it's important to do awareness rising, like for example, on this aspect of cybersecurity, also to focus on specific challenges such as data collection, making data available, governmental data available for companies to work with, and setting up good rules and regulations for example, open access to broadband service market towards this new companies. So that to an approach towards the companies. And then a third approach is on citizens, I think, where a government can stimulate this lifelong learning, and also they can the governments can take their role towards universities, colleges, schools to develop and provide trainings to have these these skills, the enhancements of digital skills from their students, but also from for the citizens. So yeah, that's this e-inclusion projects. There, I think also the government has his role, but for this last point, I think it's very important that a government would not reduce its own digital ambitions due to the fact that some target groups are lacking behind or having this evolution a bit slower. I think there we can facilitate and help and support governments to see this as two parallel processes to go for these high digital transformation ambitions, but on the other hand, not to forget the people that have that need some extra support there.
Thank you very much, Bieke. I have a question for Peyman, and I will ask the same question maybe to more panelists. Where do you go in the future, Peyman? So what kind of projects are you thinking of?
I guess we are more or less also in the future already. So we had the CORA project, and we started our cooperation with the COM³, which is basically a project based on our findings in the CORA project. And we also had a sort of application for extension of our CORA project to focus more on enhancing the knowledge and capacity of federal municipalities in the North Sea region, at least, using the knowledge that we have acquired in our pilot regions in the CORA project. But next to this, one very important point that I wanted to mention as potential for the future is that so far the topic of data and effective use of data was more or less in the hands of big tech companies. And now, since a while, we are, let's say, seeing a sort of shift of moving from private sector organizations, private big tech companies to local and regional authorities, and that it's getting more and more important for local and regional authorities to use data for data and digitally protected regional development. And in that case, there are still many open issues and many open questions. How the data can be generated, how to save and where to save basically the data, how to systematically manage the gathered data, how to visualize the data, and how to develop use cases and future public services in different sectors like mobility, energy, tourism, health, education, and so on. And next to this, there are still big discussions around stakeholder involvement, data security aspect, standardization of the processes, regulatory issues, ethical issues. And for me personally, focusing on the topic of data for better regional development would be the next step that I'm really interested to take.
Thank you very much, Peyman. I have the same question to Franziska. So what kind of projects are you thinking of?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. I'm going to try and answer this for also my organization and not only me personally. So I am here today on behalf of the University of Groningen, and our strategic goals include fostering sustainability and the reduction of inequality. So I think focusing on digitization is one big issue in decreasing inequality between regions, between subgroups of the population, but also between companies that all want to stay competitive. So while our project is still ongoing, and one focus that we have now is leaving a legacy and making sure that we end up providing at least the companies who participate with a network and people they can connect to, and maybe also set up some kind of corporations with more universities. I do see that there are projects that could build on top of what we find. We're still in the phase of finding out what we actually learn, but maybe there should be a better focus on different skill levels in the companies that we work with, and differentiating between the people who are already further in the journey of digitization and the ones who just start, to be able to better work with them.
Thank you, Franziska. What about you, Eva? So where do you go next?
Who wants to join us? Because we want to go wherever the future brings us. But we want to see this as we have just started the journey. And I think, as Bieke said, we started with digitalization, but it's more and more digital transformation. So it's very important not to lose momentum, because we have SMEs and we have local and regional authorities and organizations and regions that are quite data savvy. But we also have those who haven't come quite as far yet. And this shouldn't be just a simple project. This should be sort of the start of a movement. So we have a shift in mindset. And we say that we work with demanded development. So what is demanded in our region? And we see that it is quite a demand for the interest in data maturity and how we can strengthen SMEs, but also how we can profile our region in these kind of questions. So we do see a lot of strengths and possibilities, and we also try to differentiate between output and outcome, because it's one thing what we do in the project, but it's also what do we get out from the project, what is the impact and the effect of the project, and that is what's most important, the shift in mindset and the knowledge that we gain from the project and the cooperations, because it's not just the projects, it's also who we are working with. It is extremely important.
Thank you very much, Eva. Peter, what do you think? Where do you go next? What kind of projects are on your schedule?
Yes, actually, we were already exchanging within our partnership, Smart Villages partnership, on follow-up activities, follow-up projects. We formed a core group, and there we kind of found out already that we also would like to go into a direction of enhancing the competencies of municipalities, of the administrations, of the different stakeholders in the territories, and actually build their competence building using training of trainers approaches, and also the rural innovators concept. So actually how to trigger innovation in rural and peripheral areas. This was also a major question. Even after the Smart Villages project, we were kind of scratching on the surface, and there is still a lot to do in the remote rural areas. But we saw also there is really the potentials are enormous, and it's worth to invest into that. So actually, we haven't come up already with concrete measures. We produced a 3-pager of first ideas, but it's not yet that developed. And of course, we are also now kind of in a partner search area phase where we try also to complete and amend our partnership. For example, perhaps for an upcoming Horizon call or Alpine Space call in autumn. But we in Switzerland, we have the endeavor now that the framework agreement, the EU framework agreement, has not been accepted, signed by our government. So we don't know at the moment actually in how far, in which way we can participate. For example, for Horizon projects for the upcoming phase. That's just an open question we have to resolve and see how this will evolve.
Thank you, Peter. Which leads me very well to the funding question. You already mentioned Horizon. So I would like to ask Peyman, what funding sources apart from Interreg are you thinking of? Do you have something on your horizon?
That's also a very difficult question. I'm basically a fan of Interreg, but we definitely we should not forget the funding possibilities at the local, regional, and national level. For example, in Germany, around the topic, they have different dedicated funding for municipalities and regions to focus more for future-proof regions, smarter cities. At the European scale, there are, of course, the Interreg possibilities in the current program. Of course, Interreg B, which we are currently in, but also Interreg R, which is also a sort of cross-border cooperation. And if partners are also interested in policy making, the Interreg Europe has just provided a good floor for interested participants. But of course, Horizon is also an opportunity. And there are next to this, of course, different other funding programs like Air-backed Urban Innovative Action and so on. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. The question is, with whom do we want to develop the projects, and which types of catchy ideas do we have for our future steps?
Thank you, Peyman. Bieke, what about you? Have you considered any further sources apart from Interreg?
I think it's a bit for us the same. Like Peyman said, we're also looking at the Flemish and the national level at what funding options there are. But indeed, Interreg has very good opportunities, the different Interreg programs. Also, Horizon Europe, you know that Ledel also works at energy, house renovation, energy sharing, mobility projects. I think the challenge for the coming weeks and months is to see where the challenges that have been described within your organization fit into these programs. Like Peyman also asked Anna and Femke, where will your local authorities be able to also contribute or create a project proposal? I think that's a bit the same in the other programs. Digitalization is everywhere. It's in all projects and at all levels, but it will still be a bit of research on where the challenges we face in our region and with our organization fit into these projects the best. But I'm sure, like it is now already, that Ledel will be there in all kinds of projects, in all kinds of programs.
Thank you, Bieke. Eva, what do you have on your mind? about funding sources?
Well, the focus is what we want to change, and when we know what we want, what kind of shift we want to achieve, then we can see what kind of funding can we get from it. We do work quite a lot with different kind of Interreg projects, but not solely. So, of course, if there's national funding or if it's Erasmus or Horizon, then we're open to it. But the most important thing here is to try to focus on what kind of change do we want to achieve, and in doing so, what funding would we need?
Thank you very much. Now I have a question. I heard from your answers, rightly or wrongly, that actually you are planning to build on your current projects. I mean, we know that cooperation is a growing field, so it takes a while. But is there anybody here on the panel that has crazy ideas and you discovered or are planning any new dimensions that are not building on the last projects or anything like that? Please raise your hand.
Not yet.
Not yet. What about crazy ideas, Bieke? Do you have something different?
I have a lot of crazy ideas, but I think I want to come back to your introduction of your question. I think a lot of good projects start from earlier projects. Like Peter already said, I think good projects end too soon. Like there's still so much to do in the region and still so much changing because of this project. I think we sensed that with CORA, and then COM³ was there. It's on in our region. It's working on data, so there's a lot of challenges there and a lot to be done, and a lot of budget can be needed. But like for CORA as well, we have made this project on the smart rural areas and the extension because of the fact that there's still so much to do and that we want to reach out towards the wider regions with this expertise built and with this knowledge, and so I think a lot of good projects will come from earlier projects, but hopefully there will be some room for crazy ideas as well.
Thank you, Bieke. Franziska, what about you? Do you have any crazy ideas?
Well, for me, it's taking on a different mindset, just thinking about that question, because in research in my institution, a lot of stuff is theory-led, and you have to do your research before you can come up with an intervention. So for me, it's kind of the wrong way around to have a crazy idea and then think of like how we can implement and how people can benefit. But I don't know. I'm also working on like other. I'm more working with self-employed than I do just with SMEs in this project. So maybe there's something that can focus on this more on an individual level to help people on the very small end of the SME scale, and then involving students is always a good idea. That if that's a very crazy idea, I know maybe it would be crazy to have our students, because we're geographers, and but we can always learn from each other in terms of regional effects, I think. So I'm very early in the project that I'm currently working on, so I'm not need to the next one right away.
Thank you, Franziska. And Peter, I have a question. We, especially with the experience, we are limited by the funding opportunities and what it is offering and looking at the partnership. But if we did not have this limitation, so imagine you have reasonable up to unlimited funds available in the next years. What would you do different? I mean, what other ideas or things you would implement?
Yes, actually, I think it's very important to really have Okay, it depends on the programs, of course, because there are more programs, more research-based programs, and then more action-focused programs. So for me, I have more experience in the field of concrete actions in the territories, and actually there I always see there is kind of the entrance is always a bit high. It's difficult for municipalities to really start with a process of participatory process, innovation building process, and they have not the means and the opportunities, the knowledge to really only make the first step. And if they could do the first step, the world would be already be kind of another one. And I would be really fond of something, a mechanism that enables as many as possible of municipalities, regions to facilitate, to enter into a project and a participatory process in an innovation developing process easily. So it's all about of money, of course, but I'm sure if to start to really trigger something, you even don't need so much money per municipality, but you need easily accessible budget. And this is of course with the traditional programs is not yet possible. It's kind of a dream. But we in Switzerland, actually, we try to work a bit into this direction, so that we enabled 40 municipalities to start with a participatory process to develop a smart villages approach. And they get a co-financing right easily. It's not a high amount, it's about 10,000 euros per municipality, but it's already something which actually we have quite a high demand for this financing tool, and we see already very, very promising results. So it would be nice to have this on a larger scale, but yeah, we know that there are some administrative limitations.
Thank you, Peter. And I think I have a last question to Eva. So Eva, if you did not have any financial limitations, but you would be limited to your partnership, what would you implement with your partners if there were no financial limitations?
Wow. Then I'm going to be crazy and say I think it's not a good idea to have unlimited funding, unfortunately, because I would love to. But at the same time, if you have your own financing part of it, then you have another incentive of following through. But one thing that I would want more in our partnership, both in Future by Design and in COM3, that I see in our region, is the connection between students and SMEs. And how can we better connect these so they can learn from each other and work with each other? So it's not students just for a moment being in a SME or so, but how can we improve the cooperation between SMEs and students, almost like mentorship programs or something? I think that could be quite interesting. So let's see if someone wants to join us on that journey.
Great. Thanks, everyone. I think we are slowly moving towards the end of the panel. So it was great to have you here. Big thanks to the audience, to the panelists. So I think now you can wave, say bye-bye, and
bye-bye.
You will leave the stage now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. So dear participants, thank you very much for staying with us so far. Now it is time to close the game that we played so far from the beginning of the conference, and I would like to invite Adelaide to the stage, who will announce the winners.
Thank you, Darius, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for staying with us until now and helping us shaping the digital future of our regions. I'm very happy to announce the name of our winners. We have 3 winners, but before giving their names, I want to give you the correct answer. So the word we wanted you to guess were digital bridge. And the 3 winners will have the chance to receive the latest book from Stein Janne. The title of this book is Digital Transformation Know-How. And our 3 winners are Thomas Monk-Ansmundsen from Weile, Anders Sandik from Vinja, and Bob Hart from the Smart Manufacturing Alliance in the UK. Your name will also, I think, appear on the screen soon, right now. Thank you all for your participation and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Adelaide. Thanks a lot for everybody for taking part in the game. And I hope you will enjoy the small prize and the book. So Adelaide, thank you very much for announcing winners. I think you will now leave the stage. And I will do some very short closing remarks. Thanks a lot for participating in the event today. I think we have learned a lot. And as we are closing, I would like to share maybe some thoughts. I think the digital transformation is happening. Most of us and most of our partners and municipalities and public sector and economic sector will catch up. We know that some will stay behind. I think we all see ourselves as facilitators of digital transformation, and we are already planning next steps and discussing where to focus and where to go next. And I really hope that many of us will meet in the future projects very soon. And I wish you all the best. Talk to you soon. Take care and have a good time and good summer.